truth is near, and the man to my left is a breeze in my ear. True living is a thing that we take for granted, my friend. Sorry, Jose.
Axis fans. We are here backstage at Funkin' Waffles with this awesome group called Pop Culture. We are here to do the 6th episode of the Tone Zone, and we got the green backdrop tonight, which is very cool. First time we've got it here, and it's in the green room, so I guess it's perfect. We've got 3 members behind us. We've got all the string instruments. We got Mike Wolf over here on guitar.
Hello.
We've got John Feddison on lead guitar.
Hello.
And last but not least, Foster Valley on bass. What's up, Foster?
Third hello.
Awesome, I like that. 3 hello, hello, hello. Could have done that. So this band, a bunch of young cats out of Syracuse, New York, where we are at Funkin' Waffles, and where I'm from also, so this is perfect. Their first CD was released April, I believe?
Yeah, at April.
Awesome, end of April, and it is called Moments of Totality. I told the guys that I absolutely love their sound. It's a very cinematic feel to it. The music really goes places, I feel like. It could almost be in the intro of like a fun bandit show or something from the 80s where there's a lot of movement going on, and then the sax comes and you're going to have a cop come by and everything like that. And I mean that in the most positive way. Lots of good energy and everything like that. So as soon as I heard them, I was like, yeah, let's get these guys on the couch and see if we can find out all about their gear that they use. So, Foster, since you were next to me first, you use a modulus bass, correct?
Yeah, so my whole time here with Pop Culture, I've been using a 1989 modulus Q5. It's got 3rd year Bartolini hand-wound pickups, and I just put a 4-band active preamp in there that's also Bartolini. I love that bass. It's got the graphite neck, and the thing doesn't move. There's not a dead note on it, which is incredible. Right now, for amps and stuff like that, I'm running through an Aguilar Tonehammer 350, which has been doing me really well, and a Hartke 4x10. You feel all that air behind me when I'm playing, which feels great. For pedals, I am using a tuner first, and then I have a pitchfork, an electro-harmonics pitchfork, which I tend to do to the perfect fit, and I kind of reharmonize with these guys sometimes, which is really cool. I also use it for lower sub-octaves, and blow out the speakers in the PA. Front of house guys love that. And then I have a Boss SY1 synthesizer pedal, which has not made its debut yet with the band, but I'll get in Kuzi's way one day with his synthesizers. Nice. I have an original Japanese Boss BF3B flanger, and that pedal's incredible. You can see where the original pink paint is on it, and then when Boss went through and painted them all brown for the bass, which is rad. And then I use a reverb pedal, also Boss, and that pedal is incredible. When we get real spacey, it opens up the jams. So yeah, that's what I've been rocking. I got a Fender Jazz that I use every once in a while. It's a sweet bass, but mainly the modulus with Pop Culture. So yeah.
I was going to say, first, your pedal board, very nice and neat and everything like that, so I enjoy seeing that kind of stuff. The modulus, how long have you owned it? I apologize if you said that.
Oh, no. So yeah, I've had the modulus for the last 5 or 6 years. I bought it off of a guy that studied at Berkeley for a while, and he bought it off his professor.
Oh, that's awesome. Stories. This is what we're all about. If you guys are following Aces X's, these are the kinds of things where I'm like, yeah, you're not going to find that stuff out on a webpage, so this is the cool stuff.
Yeah, no, shout out to Bo Lepard. He does BLD design basses. He makes them in Rochester, New York, where actually all 3 of us are from. Originally, we all went to high school together. And yeah, I bought it from him. It's an incredible bass. Yeah, I've been playing it for the last 5-6 years now. Couldn't leave home without it.
And the blue really stands out on stage. It's not your typical blue. Some blues are really dark and they're hard to photograph and everything, and that thing looks great. And as I was telling you earlier with your amp head, I heard gentlemen the other night in the System of a Down cover band use the same exact head. So it goes to show how Aguilar stuff is amazing, that we can go from System of a Down to jazz fusion rock kind of band, and it covers everything perfectly. So big up on the Aguilar Tonehammer series. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Do you use a pick at all, or are you strictly fingers?
Well, so I started using a pick with this band originally, and then I would drop the pick, or I was using the pick, the fingers, and the slap, and I was like, too many things going on at once. So I dropped the pick, I just do the fingers and the slap now, and I found that I can really hone in my tone better when I'm, bringing it down just to a couple things. I mean, I miss that pick attack sometimes, but getting the groove with the fingers, there's nothing like it, so.
And I'm gonna guess with the active pickups, it gives you a little bit of that extra boost that you might be missing without having the pick.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, you really get the definition. After I've kind of dialed in the bass, really, I don't move anything on the bass. I make a little bit of adjustments on the amp here and there, depending on the room, just because, I don't know, I found that that's the best way to do it, but it basically sounds the same every single time I plug it in, so I couldn't ask for more.
That's awesome. And as a touring musician, I bring it up almost every time. Consistency is one of those things where it's like you were saying how you guys were playing a bunch of outdoor shows and everything like that, and it's like you need it consistent because who knows what you're going to be able to actually hear on stage and everything like that. So, dude, thank you so much. We appreciate everything you went into and everything like that. We have Mr. Mike Wolf, who is playing a beautiful Ibanez Prestige semi-hollow body. A guitar you don't see out in the wild too often, so I was super happy to see one and everything like that. Why did you choose that guitar to be your main axe with this project?
So that guitar is really easy to play. You don't have to fight it at all. You can just fly around on that fretboard. It's super flat, and it's very versatile. It has a the neck pickup has a little black switch that it's connected to that splits it from parallel to single coil to series, or actually the vice versa. But I can get almost every tone I can need on that wonderful guitar.
Fantastic. And we talked about the love of Jerry Garcia and everything like that, so obviously you need to channel lots of different tones and everything out of it, so with the phase in and out and everything like that, you're able to do it with that. So I see you have a bunch of Keeley pedals, a mini tube screamer. Are there any pedals that you keep on at all times, or are you mainly just clean for the most part and then you color from there?
So I do keep the compressor on all the time, as well as the Empress Para EQ that helps really dial in a lot. It helps to fill out when you go from venue to venue. It helps to just.
I was actually going to, because I saw that it had a boost on it also, so I was going to actually ask if you used it as the EQ or the boost portion, and if it was to, because you also play a Strat, and I didn't know if it was to kind of keep those two at a solid level, or if you used it more as an effect.
Well, it's more as an effect. I'll use it if I need a little extra boost when I go to play lead, but it's really there as a fail-safe. If my volume isn't quite doing it with how I have it set up, I can pop that switch on and I'm good to go.
Fantastic. Tube Screamer, do you use it? Is that your pretty much only dirt pedal on there, if I'm not mistaken?
That is correct.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yep, that is a mini Tube Screamer. I got it. Koozie gave it to me for my birthday many years ago.
Fantastic.
And it's been a very faithful pedal ever since then.
And it's right in the very center and everything,
Yes,
so I can see it's just like, it's right there, right out in the middle,
Oh,
so
yeah.
a great choice to put it there and everything like that. It looked like, and I might have been looking at it wrong, do you use your volume pedal at the end of your chain?
Yes, I do, and that's
Awesome.
a reason.
I was gonna say, there's no right or wrong in guitar, we all know that, but I've gotta say that is not the most normal way. Is there a reason?
So I was recently, that's a very recent change actually. I used to have it out front and just kind of had some spacing issues on the pedal board, so I was like, I'll give it a shot, I'll try something different. Last week, threw it at the end of the pedal board. I like how it sounds. Gives me a little bit more control on the effects pedals.
Awesome.
And it's a little bit more sensitive at the end of the chain, which I tend to prefer. But perfect for volume swells.
So I was going to say, so you actually use it for volume swells and not just to kill your onstage
Yes,
volume
I
or
do.
something
Yep,
like that.
yep, lots of volume swells, especially as we go into Allman Brothers type songs like In Memory. It's very useful. Helps to kind of also balance that on-stage volume a little bit.
Fantastic. And is it Crybaby wise? It's just the classic GCB 95.
Yes, it
like,
is.
that's
Yep.
awesome.
I recently replaced that. I had the old one, or just an older one, and it died on me a couple weeks ago, and we were going out to play a show in Lake Placid actually.
Oh, awesome.
So I was like, I like how this sounds. I tried out the mini version, the more high-tech version. I don't know the actual names of all these.
Yeah, there's a Jerry Cantrell one. There's so many Dimebag Darrell one. I like the camouflage Dimebag Darrell one personally, but I can see it maybe not working with this bed.
Oh
so,
yeah. Well, yeah. So it just has a great sound, the classic one, and it does what I need to do.
And that is one of those pedals that unfortunately is going to go on you. My buddy Mark, who I was talking about, that does summer school electronics, we were talking about pedals and somebody had said make a wah, and he's like, no. Just because there's so much that has to go into them and everything like that. So I can understand how that's a pedal that you do have to replace at some point.
Yeah,
and everything. Your amp, Fender Super Reverb, 410, that thing is just loud, clean, beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm guessing you probably don't have it much over 3. I mean,
I run it for these shows. I'll run the master at about 5 or 6, and
Awesome.
I'll run the actual volume probably 3 or 4. Yeah, it doesn't.
Cool.
It gets super loud. The bass is very overpowering. That I especially don't put over 3. But yeah, it is a super clean amp. It's a 1979 Super Reverb.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
a little
great.
vintage.
How did you go about getting it? Was it one of those things where it was like, I like it. It sounds like we got a story. Good question.
I saw it up on Reverb, and
Classic.
it was down in Brooklyn, and it was for under $1,000. It was like $900. Like, I
shoot.
have got to get this.
Yeah.
So I drove from Syracuse to Brooklyn and back to Syracuse in a day. It was like a 12-hour trip.
And that's better than hoping he's gonna pack it good, because it's not a Boss Katana where it's like, if it breaks, I can get another one. They're all the same. You're not going to replace that puppy.
Right. So when I picked it up, it was at a jazz club in Brooklyn. I don't remember the name of the jazz
That's
club.
super cool. That's great.
They said before its residency in the jazz club, it was a studio amp and had been there for 35 plus years.
So much music then has come out of that and everything. So those speakers are really where they should be and everything like that, because I mean speakers need time to really break in, and those things have definitely been broken in.
Yes, they have. Yeah. I wish I could speak to what speakers they are, but all the paint's worn off of them and I can't tell. So.
That's perfect. That's actually perfect. That means it's been used and everything, so that is dope. I'm happy I asked that question. Do you have any other amps, or is that pretty much the only one you need?
I have a couple. Yeah, I have a Fender Blues Junior 3, which I use. It's like my practice amp.
Funny, I own a Blues Junior 3. I have in Charlotte Hornet colors. It was one of those, like, it came out because they do every year the new colors in purple and blue. I was a big Larry Johnson fan growing up. So, but it seems like everyone has a Blues Junior, and it's just kind of like, you go to get rid of it, and then you end up with another one and everything like that. It's so weird. It's such a crazy amp. But yeah, I own one also. They're great amps.
They're fantastic. I also have a very small Boss Katana. It's like one of those desktop amps.
I literally own the same one too. But we were actually taught, there's a Boss Micro Cube over there that we were plugging into the other day, and it's amazing how all those, because it's like, well, they probably just stole a Roland Jazz Chorus clean tone and put it in all those. And Roland Jazz Chorus is, in my opinion, the best clean tone you can possibly get. So it's like, exactly. So. A little trick, if you're looking for the great quintessential metal chainsaw tone, get a Boss Metal Zone, put it into a Roland Jazz Chorus, and it's like instant in tune tone. It sounds absolutely awesome. So for all you metal heads out there, Mike, do you have anything else you'd like to add about, your gear that you use, or why you use anything, or is there a guitar out there you were like, man, if I could find one of these, it'd be something that you would add to the arsenal, or
Always looking for new gear. That would be the Ibanez MC300. They also make like 400, 500s, but that line has a beautiful through neck. I like the nice dark walnut finish on it. They're pretty pricey though, upwards of $1.5 to $2.5 grand. So just waiting on the right time.
Yeah, luckily with a lot of people that bought stuff during COVID and everything, and they're kind of unloading it. So like you were saying with Reverb, sometimes we find crazy deals, and it's like, I'm gonna get it before everybody else does. So
I also I'm on the lookout for a Jazzmaster always. I used to have one back in high school.
You were saying a Mexican-made Jazzmaster, that went to the house of guitars.
Yeah. And I regret getting rid of that, and I just, I don't know if it would be my main guitar, but I like just having them all around.
I had a Schecter S1, one of those things where it was like just a double cut, nothing special about it, but it's like I sanded down the neck, I put the pickups in it, so it's like I'm always on the look for it myself. So I think we all have that piece of gear. So good luck, you never know. PJ, actually, who we interviewed last night for Pega, same thing with him, and actually he refound the guitar through a buddy, and he had kept it in his closet, so like 4 years later he was reunited with it.
Wow.
So yeah, you never know, it might happen for you also. So if anybody out there has Mexican made jet, what color was it?
It was Sunburst.
So anybody in the Syracuse Rochester, you sold it, so hey, anybody by chance got one, it might be this nice. Please let me know. Yeah, awesome. Dude, Mike, thank you so much for taking some time with us and everything. And last but not least on the couch, we have John down here at the end. John, you have an amazing looking Gibson SG, just a single bridge pickup, couldn't be any more simpler. Do you ride the tone knob a lot, ride the volume knob a lot, or do you just kind of keep everything open and change everything with your pickups, or with your pedals?
There is a lot of tone sculpting with the tone and the volume. I mean, the volume knob is super sensitive for distortion, and the tone I'm constantly changing to suit different songs to fit in a different space. Mm-hmm. So I do use both of them a lot.
Is there a reason why you went with this guitar, just a single pickup? Was it so you could just concentrate on playing and not have to worry about messing around with everything, or it just kind of fell in your lap and it just happened to work for you?
Well, I've been looking for an SG for a while, and I love them, and I found one similar to this I just fell in love with the shape of the pickup, or the pickguard, I mean.
Yes, it's the old school. We were talking about Tony Iommi, and it's very much like that very old school SG look and everything like that. So absolutely beautiful.
And it's like, out of all the famous SG players, no one really plays one like that.
Yeah.
And I really only use a single coil on the bridge anyways.
Awesome.
So I was like, I don't need that other stuff.
Is that an aftermarket bridge on it? Do you know?
It is, yes.
Do you know what brand it is by chance?
Foster actually found that. Do you remember?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's a Kaler. That's a Kaler that I bought at Ish Guitars here in Syracuse.
Interesting, because when I think Kaler, I think exactly. You beat me to it. So very cool. Is it like a newer Kaler thing that they do, or?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Brian over there said. If I remember correctly, Brian over there said that it was in early 2000s they came out with them. Really, what needed to happen was he needed to be able to have better intonation, especially because that wrap tailpiece are known for just slipping out.
Right.
And so we were on the hunt for something like that, and I found one. We picked it up, and John adjusted it real nice, so it's real great.
That's awesome. It's almost like you're going from the 3 version telly to like the 6 string, so you can actually get that D and G string into the everything. So with I use a volume pedal also, but I noticed you use it at the beginning a little bit more normal and everything like that. But I noticed you have a pedal that I do not know much about. Obviously Ibanez TS9 I saw, but right next to it you have an Ibanez Super Distortion. Green is my favorite color if you cannot tell. But tell me about that pedal, because I don't know much about it and I'd love to know more.
Alright, so that's probably my favorite pedal.
Awesome, fantastic.
That was kind of me and Foster were out at Guitar Center looking for a distortion pedal for Mike's birthday one year. And
It's the best gear. It's the best gift to give, man. Here, you guys are great. I love this.
there was one that was a little different than the rest because it looked like a tube screamer, but it's a lighter shade of green and it's beat to shit.
It's almost like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles green. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's different.
And it was a little more expensive than you'd expect something that looked like that to be. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy that thing, but I gotta know why it's so expensive.
Right.
And it's,
Inquisitive man, I love it.
and so we tried out a bunch for Mike, and then we plugged in that one, and it sounded incredible. And I just like it because it's so dynamic. Like, you can set it so that when you play the strings lightly, it's clean, just like a little sparkle. And then as soon as you dig into it, it's like real distorted.
I'm gonna guess it's more of a distortion pedal, where the TS9 is more of an overdrive, so you can actually get some beef out of it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think the tube screamer is a soft clipping, and the sonic distortion is hard clipping.
Awesome.
So it's a little more. But that's one of the pedals I usually have always on.
Very cool. And I noticed you had 2 different, you have a carbon copy and then a Terra Echo. Do you have them set so one's quick and one's long, or do you use them, how exactly do you use them differently?
I pretty much have the Terra Echo on always.
Oh, awesome.
So I mean, that's a pretty wild pedal, but I have it tuned down like so that it doesn't do very much. It just kind of gives me sustain. You don't really always notice it, but I keep that pretty much always on, and then I turn on carbon copy for solos.
Awesome. There's a lot of, I know Paul Gilbert's famous for that, where he has a delay on that's like a super short delay, and he's like, you don't notice it until you turn it off. And then when you turn it off, you notice that it's missing and everything like that. So that's cool that you kind of found something that works for your always on tone and everything like that. You plug into a Fender DeVille. Do you use the clean channel, or do you use the heated up channel?
I usually use the hot rod circuit, not the extra distortion, but just the
like the orange one, I believe, the amber unit, yes. And how do you have it set? Do you have quite a bit of gain on it, or do you leave it just kind of boosted just a little bit and then do all the dirt with the super distortion?
Yeah, just a little bit, because we play a lot of clean sounding songs, and we started covering a lot of Grateful Dead, and so as the Jerry, I always kept it very clean.
Awesome.
And then relied on pedals to bring in distortion.
And one thing I absolutely love is your coil cable. As a Jimi Hendrix fanatic, that's one of those things where it's like, well, if you're trying to do Hendrix and you don't have a coil cable, everyone's going to boo you. Is there a reason you use a coil cable? Because it does give it more of a lo-fi tone, and there is one of those tonal differences and everything like that. I love Megami cables because they're crystal clean, and they actually are. I had a rep there one day, and he did the whole clean dirty test, and I was completely sold. So I love Megami stuff. But the coil cable, do you use it because it gives it more of a lo-fi tone? Do you just like how it looks? Any particular reason?
Honestly, really just kind of the looks and the functionality. It stays out of the way, or it'll go with you if you need to walk a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. But it's one of those things that's unique, and obviously I'm a colorful person. I like how it's purple and everything like that. So very cool and unique. Dude, thank you so much for taking some time with me and everything. I really appreciate it, John.
Of course.
Guys, we got the other three members. We're gonna intertwine here and everything like that. But please give it up for the three stringed instruments here in pop culture. The other three gentlemen here in pop culture, same couch, three different faces, but I'm still here. All right, and on my right we have Mike, who is the keys and synthesizer player.
Hey.
Next to him we have Grady, who plays drums and percussion.
Hi.
And last but not least, down at the end we have Joe Winslow, who plays saxophone, two different saxophones, and a flute.
Hello.
All right, guys, thank you so much for taking your time to do this. This is super fun, and like I was saying to the other guys, as soon as I heard you guys, I wanted to be involved with helping spread your guys' music. I have written down here, I thought of it as sonic landscape is how I was describing it. So I love how it seems like every 30 seconds you guys kind of have this like fun little 10-second syncopated thing that kind of goes somewhere else, and then you go back into the jam. It's something not a lot of jam bands do, or I don't want to say jam bands because you guys are way more than that, but I enjoy it. Shows that you guys are super talented beyond belief also, though, to do that kind of stuff. I guess I have a songwriting question. When you guys are writing songs, and this is for anybody, does it come from a lot of jams because of that kind of jamming and then a syncopated thing, or does it start with someone has a riff and everything kind of goes from there?
Yeah, so I'd say it's almost like a 50-50 split. You know, some of the songs, like some of the stuff that ideas I've brought to the band, it's like I'm playing the piano at home and I got a weird, like almost quasi like classical riff that I'm like, how can I make this sound like rock music, you know?
Right.
And stuff like that. I take a lot of inspiration from Prague.
Oh, awesome.
But I think what's really special about this band is we also have the ability to write music from just jams as well. And, you know, we'll get together and, you know, particularly at the start of like a rehearsal, you know, we take it with like an open jam, completely free form. We don't even tell each other what key we're in. We're just...
Right.
You know, and
so if someone's been holding on to a riff all week where they're like, I really want to play this one, it's like, oh, I'm going to play it right in the beginning and everything. Yeah. So that's a very cool idea.
But yeah, and I think, I mean, it works out pretty great. We've had some great songs come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Awesome. So while we have you, you have two different keyboards that I noticed you use. You have a big old Nord, and then you have a Moog Sub 37. Or Moog?
I believe it's Moog. I say Moog though.
Awesome. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, so I always think of the little Moogs and the little like characters, so that's why I say that. Is there a reason why you went with those two keyboards? How long have you had them? Why don't you give us the whole story?
Yeah. So before I had interestingly enough, I actually got the Moog before I got the Nord.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I was at the House of Guitars one day with Foster.
Back to the House of Guitars.
Yeah, back to the House of
Fantastic.
Guitars. And, you usually don't expect them to have a keyboard, like an extensive keyboard section, but this time they actually had a lot of, like, pretty cool gear. And I was initially looking at a Korg SV2 that was in there, because I had a previous Korg Chrome keyboard that I was looking to get rid of. It just wasn't, like, stage friendly in the way that I wanted it to be. So, I walked in there and I saw the Moog, and Foster and I kind of looked at each other and were like, I gotta buy that.
Right.
Basically, the story behind that is that some guy that was a regular there at the House of Guitars had bought it, and then within a week returned it.
Oh, wow.
He's like, he just didn't want it anymore. So it came complete with the manual. It was still under warranty, and it was a really good deal for me. And I'm like, I can't pass up the Moog. I love synthesizers, so I got that, and then I was rocking I was rocking my Mac through like a MIDI keyboard at the time, and I had the Moog separately. But then, the time came for me to get a real nice,
step it up,
stage keyboard, and I just went for the Nord because I always wanted one. All the controls are there. I hate menu diving on keyboards. So for me, having all the buttons there, everything accessible was perfect, and the sounds were just fantastic.
And as a guitar player, I always go for looks, and like it looks so iconic. It's one of those things you look at on stage and you're like, oh, this is a professional band. At least in my opinion, it's not, like you said. And also, who wants to worry about the laptop maybe not working at night and everything like that? I don't know if that happened at a show or anything, but I'm guessing you don't want that to happen.
It happened. It was an older MacBook too, so it's like, it got to the point where I'm just like, this is not reliable.
Right, and it's like you don't want to update your computer every year just to update your computer or your keyboard rate. That doesn't sound fun. And I noticed that you use a delay pedal. So do you use it for particular parts and it's like, I need this pedal, or do you just like to have fun with it?
So I'm a big fan of delay, and particularly with the Moog, because if you run a Moog signal just straight into the PA, it's super dry.
Okay.
It's a super versatile synth, but it allows you to sculpt the actual waveform of the sound, but you're not adding any additional effects except maybe some distortion.
Okay, so no flangers or arpeggios and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's this band that I love called Circles Around the Sun.
Okay.
And he uses a Moog Model D, an old school vintage one. And he runs it through a delay pedal as well, and I use it, I sculpt with it. Sometimes I keep a short delay, sometimes I'll turn the feedback all the way up and make it a super long delay, make like a siren type noise.
And as a guitar player, I gotta say, I wish I had all my pedals right there to be able to do all that fun stuff and everything, so it's very convenient for you, very nice. And I was telling you, if you guys are tone hunting, and this is all about tone zones, so my favorite tone, I think, on the entire album, I was telling you, there's about 30 seconds left in the first song where he does it's a little breakdown, and it's like, it is one of the best keyboard tones, synthesized tones I've heard in a long time recorded. It is fantastic. So big ups to getting that tone.
Yeah, the key to that tone, so the Nord has a pretty nice clav sound, but in an unconventional way. Like, I don't think it sounds like a real clav, but it sounds cool in its own way. And so I found a way to, because you have effects built into the circuitry of the Nord. I ran the clav sound, actually two clavs I had layered on top of each other. One was an octave lower than the other one. And I ran both of them through a little bit of delay, and then through a twin reverb amp emulator.
Nice. Yeah. Maybe that's why I like it so much, because it reminds me of a guitar tone.
It's a little gritty.
Gritty is a very great word for it, because like I said, you guys have these parts where it's like, and it's not a jam band, we stop and it's just noodling. It's like you guys as a collective unit go a little 15 seconds and then go back to it, and it's like that part it just stands out so much. So, dude, you did a fantastic job with that. So, great job. Definitely. Do you have anything else you'd like to add about your rig or anything like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, shout out Nord Keyboards for really making an awesome, great touring keyboard. I definitely, if there's keyboardists out there looking to upgrade or get a keyboard, it's been really changing the way I can play live. So
awesome. So big ups to Nord then, and that's what we're all looking for here. So if somebody's out there as an aspiring keyboard player, or somebody that's actually looking to do some touring and they're like, I've got to step it up, like Mike was saying over here, then check out a Nord. Awesome. Thank you so much. And next we have my man Grady down here, who's rocking a Yamaha 4-piece. It's in a very cool white cream kind of color, and you were saying that the story behind your snare drum was a very fun story. It looks super unique and everything too. It has almost like a walnut look to it. I'm not sure if it is walnut, but why don't you tell us the story about where you picked up that cool snare?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually kind of funny because it kind of relates to tonight. So my friend, who I got the snare through, is here tonight for the show. I invited him. So
awesome.
I think him and some of his friends are going to come.
We'll get a picture. Remind me, we'll try to get a picture and we can edit it in and everything. That'll be perfect.
Yeah. He's a drummer too. So
that'll be awesome. Yeah. So fantastic.
So I used to go to his house all the time to jam before I met these guys. And really the first time I ever openly jammed with no kind of end destination was with my friend Jack and Mo. And for a long time I had just seen this snare sitting next to his drum set in the basement, kind of in pieces, the bottom head was off, no wires on it or anything. And I noticed it, and then we would jam, do whatever, and then eventually I just asked him, I was like, Jack, what's the deal with the snare?
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
An elephant in the room,
Yeah.
Just wondering, and he was like, dude, I'm not gonna do anything with that. And so he gave it to me and gave me the new wires and everything. And I strapped it up, and it's got one of the lug mounts on the side that for the top head is a block of metal, Like it's not even a normal lug mount.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's pretty unique. And you said the color too. Like I couldn't tell you what the wood is.
Yeah, it almost looks like an 80s basement. You guys are a little younger than me, but if you've ever been in a basement from the 80s that has the vertical panels in it, it almost looks like that. So but I'm not sure what it is either, but very cool and unique. Is there a reason why you went with Yamaha? It seems like every one of these interviews, not to cut you short, every one of these interviews, somebody in the band is rocking Yamaha gear. They're just such an amazing company and they work for everything. So
absolutely.
Is there a reason why you're using that kit?
I mean, the primary reason is because it's actually Foster's kit that
awesome.
I've been renting to own.
Fantastic.
And
are you up on payments is the question.
I am.
Awesome.
Now I've been catching up. So, but that's the primary reason. But as soon as I played him, I was like, Foster, man, these drums are incredible. And it's also kind of similar to the snare drum. They're a little bit of like an odd story because if you look at the badges on them, on the shells, they're not labeled like Yamaha Stage Custom.
It said model number, and I was trying. I have contacts in, and I'm getting old, and I cannot read with contacts. So I was trying to look, and I was like, nope, I'm just giving up. So at least I know I shouldn't have kept looking.
Yeah. So from my research, what we found out is we think that they're late '80s. Like kind of special. I think they're Yamaha Tour Custom.
And I saw they were made in Japan, and I don't think a lot of the newer Yamaha drum stuff are, so I knew right away that they had to be something special or old, so awesome.
They are. And as soon as I played them, I'd always been a big believer of like the big ones like DW and all those companies, but as soon as I played these Yamaha drums, it was right around the time I started getting into Yusef Days too, who's a fantastic drummer.
Okay.
Who's been a big influence on me, and he plays a bunch of Yamaha kits. And they record so well. Awesome. And they play well, and they're easy to tune. I could go on. But they're great.
It's actually funny that you were talking about recording with them because the other part of the album is you that I wanted to talk about. The very beginning of the last song, Between the Trees.
Yes.
The drum part in the very beginning, it sounds like somebody's out there in the middle of the woods beating the hell out of a drum. How did you produce that tone? Because it is between the trees, so it literally, once again, back to the cinematic thing, it sounds like you are between two trees outside and everything like that. So please tell me the story. I'd love to hear it.
Well, yeah, so this does kind of tie back into your question about composition too. So the big composers for us are Kuzi, Mike Wolf, and Foster. Just in general, John's written a few tunes. And we've written together, but those guys really put a lot of the songs together. So that's a song that Foster, that's a Foster tune that he brought to us over a year ago. And we've been playing for a while. And going into the studio, like Kuzi said, we're all prog fans. We love concept things and consistencies and stories and stuff like that through music. And Foster asked Kuzi and I to create sort of a landscape storm.
Well, you succeeded, man.
Yeah.
You did exactly, at least in my opinion, you fucking succeeded, man. So,
yeah. So he used synthesizer and I used rototoms and cymbals, and really that's most of what was in there.
toms on stage, and I have it written down here. I was going to say, do you use them live and everything, and actually manipulate them and stuff, or do you just kind of leave them and go?
Yeah, well, I'll manipulate them if we get into like a spacey jam, and I have time to kind of get up from the kit. Otherwise, I'll use them almost more to imitate something like a timbale or like a steel pan or something like that, like a higher pitched percussion.
Well, we were talking off camera how I said there was a little bit of a Santana-y vibe, especially in the second song, the Lady Whiskey, Old Whiskey. That song especially, my dad was a huge Santana fan. My dad worked at Mack Truck. He would come home at night and just literally blast music, so classic rock and everything like that. And Santana was one of those bands. So those opening notes, it has that, you're in a seedy kind of bar, you're not really sure what's going to happen and everything like that. So yeah, I definitely picked up on that soundscape and everything. So you have a bunch of different cymbals. Doesn't look like you're tied to one brand or anything like that. Just kind of whatever you have working for you, or have you actually chosen all of those cymbals for particular reasons?
It's a little bit of both. I feel like most of my stuff, if you can't tell already, is kind of like I just fall into it.
That's what I was gonna guess. So
Yeah.
but there's nothing wrong with that, and I love Tom Morello. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine has used the same half stack since Rage Against the Machine started, because he's like, this is what I have and I'm gonna make it work. So I absolutely love that sentiment that you're saying.
I do love Zildjian cymbals.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
have an affinity for Zildjian cymbals.
K custom, A custom, K, keep it nice and dark. Yeah,
Dark and
nice
dry
dark.
is the way to go, man. I mean, you can get away with so much with a K, even just the K custom or the K darks are my favorite. Zildjian, hey, if you're listening,
Yeah, send some free stuff. Come on, Zildjian.
I would love a full set. That's all I'm saying.
All it is, it all comes in one box already pre-prepared.
I
You just
know.
gotta send it to
All
them.
you gotta
It's
do.
super simple.
My address is.
We'll pay for shipping. How about that?
I do love Zildjian. More, the Sabian I got is cracked, and someone gave that to me because it was cracked, but I kind of like it, and it's actually convinced me to think about getting some Sabian cymbals too.
Awesome. I interviewed Tan and Sober Gentleman, and dude had a cracked cymbal. It was one of those things where he's like, I'm kind of used to it at this point until I cut my hand on it when I accidentally grab it and everything. So just be careful with that. Don't want blood on the dance floor. So, do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about gear-wise while we have you here?
Not too much, no.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for taking your time and everything. I really appreciate it, Grady.
Thank you.
And certainly not least down here at the end, we have Joe Winslow. So Joe, I was telling you I love the sound of saxophone. I don't play any kind of instrument like that. I'm a stupid guitar guy. But for me, I come from the rock and metal background, and so when I think of keys, I think of ska bands, I think of punk bands where you have trombone, you have a 3-piece horn section. You're the only one. So I was wondering, where do you look for to be where you are in the band? Like, are you going off the bass player? Are you going off keys? Are you just kind of being like, I'm going to take the sound that's missing and go there? Where do you find your place in the band?
Yeah, I try and listen around to everybody as much as possible. I mean, my schooling, I went to a very classical focused school for my undergrad, and kind of had to work for opportunities to go and like play more jazz
In
stuff.
saxophone?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And so I also didn't really grow up listening to very many like jam bands or anything.
So were you more, I don't want to say an orchestra saxophone player, but used to being in a big band and that kind of saxophone?
Yeah, very very used to having sheet music and this is what I'm gonna play.
Right.
I did find opportunities to do jazz outside of school, but hadn't really done anything like this, like what we're doing in this band. So when I met them, they got me, put me onto, the Dead and Allman Brothers and Fish and all that.
Right.
So it was a lot of listening to, Branford Marsalis and, people like that to figure out like how does a saxophone fit into
Because I mean
this kind of music.
it's a completely different world for you and everything like that. But I think you add a very cool, different sound to the band.
Thank you.
It's good for the dance floor also. As many times as I've ever seen anybody with a saxophone, there's always extra females there. There's always people on the dance floor. And I mean, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's the first thing. It's why we're here and everything like that. So. Do you choose different saxophone or the flute based on song? Is it something where it's like you hear how they're jamming and you're like, I already know which one I'm going to go for? How do you go about that decision?
Yeah, I kind of like to think of, when they start playing something and it's a new song I haven't done, I'll think like if I were putting this on Spotify, like what instrument would I want to hear on it?
Awesome.
And then I'll just pick that one up and play around with it and yeah.
That's awesome. Is there one that you feel the most comfortable with? If you were like, if I could play this one for everything, you would go towards that one all the time?
Yeah, definitely tenor.
Okay, awesome. And I was saying that Hercules stand that you have is super cool, where everything can get right on stage and everything like that. So big up to Hercules also for making something like that. Besides that, what did you use before you had that special stand, or is that something that you've had since you started doing this project?
So before that, I just had a very like trashed stand, and actually I was mostly playing alto before I joined this band.
Okay.
But then each time I would show up to rehearsal, they'd be like, "Oh, like, you should really be playing tenor. Like, you want to sound like Wayne Shorter, you got to play tenor."
Right.
And so then I started playing tenor, and then they're like, Wayne Shorter also plays soprano. I picked up a soprano.
You guys are great influences.
Yeah.
I love this. This is awesome.
And then they're like, what else would be pretty cool is adding some flute.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'll start bringing the flute. And then I've got 3 horns at every rehearsal. But
Don't forget the Iwi.
yeah. So
what is that? I'm going to be stupid. What exactly is that?
So an iwi is an electronic wind instrument.
Ooh, very cool.
So it's a MIDI controller that has saxophone fingerings.
Awesome.
And so these guys hate that I mention them so much, but I got a lot of ideas from Moon Hooch.
Okay.
So they've got songs that feature iwi. It's pretty fun to play on it.
Now, I will say I love Les Claypool. Huge Primus fan. I love Oysterhead. I actually heard a little Oysterhead reference in one or two of your songs where Colonel Cat. I actually was like, I could kind of see Les Claypool writing lyrics like that, so big ups on that. But where was I going with that? We were talking about Primus. Oh, he has a saxophonist in Flying Frog Brigade. Have you ever heard them? Awesome band. And he actually plugs into a wah pedal for some of his stuff and everything like that. Have you ever messed with any kind of pedals or anything like that?
Yes, so I've done a little bit with pedals, and actually the setup I have, I had to figure out because my microphone requires phantom power. So I got this little phantom power box.
Kind of like a cloud lifter, if like what a SM7B always seems to kind of have those and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I just turn that on, so that way, you know, when I'm going to different venues, I don't have to worry about telling the sound guy I need phantom power. It's just I just need a DI box, you know, and I'm good to go.
Awesome.
But that allows me to plug into guitar pedals.
Cool.
You know, so.
But yeah, if you've never heard Flying Frog Brigade, definitely check them out. I don't know the saxophone player's name, so you might already be familiar with who he is. But they actually do the entire Floyd Animals album live and everything like that. And here in Claypool, do those stuff. Like he actually does the vocals extremely well. So super talented man. Dude, thank you so much for taking time and everything like that. So you guys are awesome. It is total great vibe from these bands. This is super cool. So I'm gonna take that microphone, make sure we're super crystal clear. So it's Thursday night. It is super hot, steamy, sweaty, and we got a free show here. So if you have nothing to do, you better be down here at Funk and Waffles to check out this band Pop Culture. Make sure you go on Spotify to listen to the music. Besides Spotify, what's the best way for everybody to find out where you guys are playing next? Seems like websites, I always say, and everybody's like, you're old, we don't have websites anymore. So what's the best way for everybody to check out about you guys and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, I'd say follow us on Instagram. We're at pop.culture.band. On Facebook too, we post there often. We do have a website. I'm in charge of keeping it up. It's harder than you think. Social media makes it easy to get the shows out there. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, check out our website.
TikTok too.
TikTok, yeah, we do a little bit of the TikTok. And yeah, and then, you know, we're also on Bandcamp too. You know, we're big believers in Bandcamp.
Awesome.
It's a great way to support artists.
Bandcamp is awesome. That's my official statement.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for Bandcamp then.
But yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, it's been an absolute blast. You guys are all super chill, super nice people, and you are all amazing musicians. So please keep it up. I can't wait to see what you guys have coming for us next. We're going to get a bunch of live stuff. They're playing 2 sets tonight, so we hope to film a bunch of live stuff to show off these guys' amazing amount of talent they have. But Funk and Waffles, thank you as always for letting us chill and hang out here at this awesome venue in Syracuse, New York. Aces Axes out.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. You guys are fucking entertaining as hell, man. Thank you guys. No, this is great. This is great. I love the whole vibe. You guys are great.
I love being able to talk about gear with people who care about it.
Dude, yeah. Dude,
Yeah, I know.